Welcome everybody to Into the Score. My name is Avishai Darash. I'm your host for this podcast. And Into the Score, we get a chance to sit with very interesting people from the industries of arts, culture, day-to-day politics, and of course, underlining entrepreneurship as a basis. And today I have a chance to sit with the great and very interesting Antonio Moreno Glazkov.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wait until we finish this podcast and then you can say thank you. The reason that we're laughing is because this is the third time that I'm doing the intro, and this is going to be maybe the seventh time today.
There were some problems with the camera, so we had to start again.
I was just telling Joao actually that we have people were asking if we have like a team behind us and if we're like doing it all. And I said,
there's like 10 people right
exactly,
here.
exactly. Shh, don't tell. No, actually, it's just the two of us, Joao and me. So we call it low budget, high definition expression. So, it's only us to blame if something goes wrong. Joao is laughing. Okay, so Antonio, what's up, man? How's it going?
I'm doing very good.
Nice.
I'm still a bit in the clouds because I just came back from 2 concerts in Egypt. And it's been a very, very special experience. So I'm happy to be back, but I'm, still a bit just bathing in all the impressions that I got.
From Cairo, from Egypt.
Cairo and Alexandria, yeah.
Alexandria, wow, nice.
So
How long were you there?
Less than 48 hours.
Well, less than 48 hours.
It was a very fast hit and run type of situation. But we were very lucky to just get a few hours on Sunday morning to go see the pyramids and see the city a little bit. So, that was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And was it like a part of the Cairo Jazz Festival?
Indeed, yes.
Okay, cool. With which group?
We went, I was subbing in a band of Miran. She's a Korean piano player living in Rotterdam now. And we played with her quintet, and half of the band was subbing. But the vibe was great. Everybody played the music great. So,
Awesome.
It worked out very well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Did you see the pyramids?
I did.
And how was it? What is the experience?
They're big. They're very big. I mean, it was, like I said, so many impressions because it was packed with people. They're a very big tourist attraction. So it was a bit difficult at times to get into the vibe of like, these are these buildings are so old.
Yeah.
And, I kind of like to get into like the feeling of, oh man, I'm next to this thing. I'm touching the rock. But at the same time, you're surrounded by hundreds of kids that are going on an excursion, and they're asking you for selfies, and someone is scamming you, and so there's all these things going on. But still a very enjoyable experience.
So it was built by aliens, right?
Yes, yeah. It said there was a plague.
I knew it.
Yeah. It even said like the list of names of the aliens. I couldn't read it, but
it was written in alien language.
Yeah, exactly. Hieroglyphics, I think they call it.
Yeah, Hebrew. But I'm the only one that can make this joke. No, I'm kidding. So tell me, I it's a free format conversation. Of course, I have some questions, but what is the thing that actually brought you to Amsterdam? Why here?
Well, I wanted to study composition, and initially I wanted to do it in Spain. I'm from Spain, and I got very good, well, not very good advice, but I was recommended to come to the Netherlands or to England, but in the end that didn't work out. But
the Royal British one, or like in London, or
yeah,
okay.
But I was recommended to come here by someone that teaches at the Conservatory of Amsterdam, and he said, if you want to study composition, just come to the Netherlands. It's a very good place.
Right.
And I just followed the advice. So initially I wanted to do composition, and I ended up going more on the performing side, which is most of what I'm doing now.
I mean, what was the let's say, what was standing in between that decision of taking composition or going more like actually like with the craft of the trumpet?
I didn't want to be a trumpet player.
You didn't want?
No. I connected way more with the writing side of things, with creating sounds, and then when I came here, I was suddenly playing with people at the lessons. There was a practical side to it, so there I started to really appreciate playing with people. Like and I think there was a side of me that I hadn't delved into as deeply, which was the improvising side. So I was, of course, improvising back then in Spain, but not. I didn't really explore that side of me, and when I came here, I really thought, okay, no, this is something that I love to do.
Because in Spain you had more like the classical
Indeed.
trajectory?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was more, in Spain it's pretty traditional, pretty classical, and the improvising was not a priority.
What is actually, I know it's a big question to ask, but we're sitting here.
Yeah.
What is improvising in that sense?
Oh, yeah. It's many things. You are playing whatever you're feeling in the moment, and if you're doing it by yourself, it comes from yourself and you react to what you play yourself. So there's a very strong listening component. You have to listen very carefully and be in the present moment. And when you improvise with other people, that's when you also react to what others are feeding you, and you feed them other stuff. So it becomes a big interaction between human beings that just have instruments and they're playing with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking it because it's a question that I'm actually asking a lot of people, and also myself. Like, is it improvising or is it real-time composition?
Yeah, I think it can be both.
Because, I mean, for instance, we're having this conversation right now, and we're improvising. Basically, I didn't know I'm going to ask you that question, but you are picking, from your arsenal of, let's say, knowledge, sentences, words, all that stuff that has already been practiced, and you're basically rearranging them, these type of concepts, and we're actually having, like, nothing new has been said here, let's say in the core of it, but the expression is new in that sense. So what's the difference actually between the two? Because I have a feeling that, like, because especially when I teach, I see it also with students, it's like, they think that improvising is like, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's where it gets like, actually, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It has rules. It has, it's not like in this conversation, for instance, and I'm just getting up and going to the toilet, you'll be like, what is
Or
going
you would
on?
start speaking another language, or
just random words, chair, table, woman, you'll just be like, how am I supposed to react to this? So that's what I'm curious, like, how do you see that?
Yeah, there is a language that you speak when you improvise. You, depending on who you're playing with, you are going to speak in a certain language. So if you're more in a jazz or a bebop context, you are not going to start playing, I don't know, in an Indian style, right? I mean,
depends if you're a hack. Yeah,
I mean, nothing bad happens, but you can create better communication if you are speaking that language, and the same would apply if you're playing with, I don't know, Indian musicians and they speak that very specific language, and then you start playing bebop lines, right?
Right.
It would be, it could be interesting. It could be a nice effect, but I think there you would miss perhaps a bit of that interactive aspect of the music.
I wonder if it's like interactive, or that people can relate to you on the basis on the basic level, because if I start speaking Hebrew to you, you'll just be like, I can't relate to what you're saying. I will say exactly what I'm saying now that I would say it in English. The same goes if you spoke Russian or Spanish to me, so it's maybe really that point of how can we relate to each other in that sense,
You can't really interact if you can't relate,
Yeah.
or the interaction then maybe stays very superficial, or
Yeah.
nothing is really being said.
Unless it's a jam session. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but so that being said, like, how was it like a gradual discovery that you had with improvising, or was it like a pivotal moment that you picked up the trumpet and like it was just like and then you realized like, oh my God, I need to improvise. And
No, it was more gradual. I think it was always there. I also I realized that I compose the way that I compose has a strong improvisational aspect to it. In order to compose, I am improvising. I'm how do you say, getting ideas out by improvising. So it was always there. I just never made it like a conscious thought. And over time, I became more aware of, wow, okay, no, this is what I like to do. And of course, I still compose. Arguably, I compose while I improvise, right? So it was a gradual thing.
So is it an integral part of your process in that sense that, like, because I want to ask you this, because I saw in one of your stories, I think it was a while ago, you were putting a drone on, like a note. If people don't know, it's like this long bass, not bass, but I mean it's a basis note that you are just discovering, like relatable, let's say, scales to it in that sense, right? In the raga thing, or makam, actually, they're very similar in that sense. Is it an integral part of your process where you discover like new ideas like this?
Definitely, yeah. I like to combine both improvising with transcribing, which means that I take a melody or a musical element that I like, and then I try to figure out what that is. For those who don't know, I like to kind of enrich my vocabulary by transcribing, and then whatever melody I am working on that's played by someone else originally, then I like to then improvise with that, and that is a part of the process that then first makes me internalize the melody better, make it my own, and then also it leads me to improvise in a different way because I'm playing with someone else's vocabulary or someone else's way of saying things.
Interesting. Like, what is the importance of transcribing for you?
I think it's very important. I think it's...
I'm asking it because there is a debate about this. You know, there is a debate. There are different streams of, let's say, music. I want to say like instrument craftsmanship. You have like diehards, only transcribe as much as possible, get the language together. You know, it's like similar to learning a new language. You gotta, envelop yourself within the sound of how it is, the community, everything in this. And there are also the diehards of the other side, which are more like do exercises, learn pieces, but transcription is like stealing from other people. You know what I'm saying? This is like two very extreme sides of the spectrum of that sense. And I wonder, how do you see it in that sense?
I see, it depends on what you want to achieve, I think, or what your priorities are. I understand the side that says, no, you just have to transcribe, and the diehards that want to speak that one specific language. If we talk, for example, bebop, you would only transcribe solos of the musicians of that time. You would play, like you would do your best to speak the language the best you can.
Right.
My priority is not necessarily to speak one language. I love all kinds of music. I'm interested in so many things that I would find it very difficult to be on that side of the spectrum of just sticking to one thing and only transcribing that and not really coming up with my own ideas. On the other hand, I think that, of course, there are ideas that are generated in myself, but they have to come from somewhere, maybe from the unconscious. And I think you feed the unconscious all the stuff that you listen to, or I don't know, traffic noises or a conversation. And in order for you to be able to generate your own ideas, you have to feed yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like to feed myself, through transcribing all kinds of music, and then through other things like, I don't know, reading, watching movies, learning pieces.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that you said. I mean, I'm a big advocate for transcribing.
Yeah,
to
same.
get the sound properly, to get the timing, the feeling.
And you understand something on a deeper level. It's, you can listen to something a few times, even 10, 20 times, but the moment you try to play it, it's not just that you realize how difficult it is or something, but you realize like you find details in that you wouldn't otherwise hear.
Yeah, it's it's almost like makes me think, because I'm also like, I love languages and stuff. When there is a difference between like speaking a language on a street level and being able to write it and to read it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like where transcription, also if you write it out, also it becomes like as clear as day. You know exactly what you're talking about. These like details within, either it's a solo or like a chord progression or this. Then, for me, at least my experience is that then I hear it. Like I hear all the details coming out. I remember, for instance, that I needed to, when I was working with the Andalusian Orchestra in 2018 it was, or something like this, I needed to get 3 huge pieces of Kaltum, write them out. We're talking 45 minutes per piece. A lot of like repetitions and all that stuff. Abysmal recordings. I'm talking about like, one microphone in the middle of the room, like a whole orchestra, and she's above it all. So this is insane.
Amazing.
But I had to transcribe it because I had to give it to musicians afterwards. We had to play it, and that was a school in Makam. Like I could hear all the different Makams and all the like when the quarter tone is higher, when the quarter tone is lower, all these stuff. I could sing it. I could this, because that was the process that I needed to do. And and I could see like the removal of it, like when I would just give it to the notes to someone that doesn't know this music, they play it from their own projections.
Indeed.
And then they don't get, then it's like you have to work on the, and then the expression of it becomes, I don't want to say problematic, but I want to say, let's say the Achilles heel of it. Because then the expression of it is like, the notes are there, but the timing between the notes, the inflections, it's like, it's almost like, if you write in like AI, play me like write me a bebop tune and this, and it's like this Frankenstein of like influences that is, this bizarre like android, like non-human form that is actually taking all these influences but doesn't understand the actual culture behind it.
Yeah, there's a difference between knowing or like being able to read the words and then actually giving those words, breathing life into them.
Exactly. It's the same like, I guess when you have these, my mom had it. She really wanted to learn Italian, and she went to like a course, Italian course. It was like 20 years ago. And then like she would talk, like, pero, it was like hilarious. And then she went like to Italy, and then it was like, whoa, like you could just see like the whole thing just like completely changing, because she was around it. She was surrounded by the actual thing, instead of just like learning it like dry,
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a bunch of anecdotes. I wanted to ask you about Nausicaa, actually, your band, which is, I found it a very interesting and refreshing, let's say refreshing group. Of course, I'm just giving like my take on it, because we have a lot of this thing of like band leaders and, you know, people going after their name
Yeah.
and hiring people and
Yeah.
doing it like, you know, the this and this quartet, the this and this trio, the this and this orchestra, whatever it is. And Nausicaa feels really like a joint effort of all the people involved in it on a equal
Yeah.
matter. Of course, you know, one takes a load on this one, the other one. How did it start? What was the idea?
The idea was to just play my tunes. Actually, it started a bit like my project.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I just wrote a few compositions that I thought, oh, would be fun to just try to play it with people, and I called some guys that we didn't know each other super well back then, but we had played together. There was a click, and I asked them if they wanted to try. And I remember the first times that we played this music, like we were playing it all of us together for the first time, and there was some magic happening in the room. I was like, oh wow, this is special. And so I brought some more compositions, we played, we recorded a song, pandemic hit, but eventually it developed into the collective that we are, the band that we are. And it initially it started as me just trying out my compositions, but now everybody is bringing compositions. We're writing together.
Yeah.
So there's been an evolution of this is what you have to play to this is an idea. What can we make with this? And there are so many lessons in this process of writing together with someone else.
Right.
So many lessons of, for me, I have realized like, it doesn't always have to go your way, or because other people have very valuable input. But like you say, there is a bit this ingrained mentality of the band leader and going after your name, and I think that a little bit influenced me in the sense of it should go the way I want, and then thanks to people bringing their own ideas and thanks to that I started to learn like, wow, like the band, the sound of the band evolved the moment everybody got to put their own input.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and actually as a teenager I was always a fan of bands. Of course there are some, let's say, individual artists, composers that I am a fan of, but the thing that kind of the music that moved me the most were usually just made this way, bands, you know, like a bunch of people just making music together. And sometimes you don't get what you initially expected.
Yeah.
But I think regardless, it is going to be special.
How do you deal with conflicts within the band?
Communication. Talking about it. There have been instances where maybe someone didn't feel heard, maybe during a rehearsal, or someone brought an idea and then the rest weren't so happy with it, and the moment the moment someone brought it up, everybody was very able to listen, and that meant sometimes having a difficult conversation with everyone.
Yeah.
And acknowledging that someone's been hurt. But then always taking into account, like, we are a group of friends. We've gone through quite some years now of making this together. Like, the friendship is above everything else. So whenever there was some type of tension, we thought, okay, maybe it's about something that's completely stupid. Maybe it's about something that's more important, but let's always keep in mind that we're friends and we want to cherish that relationship.
Well, you mean you're saying that friendship is above everything. Is it also above the benefit of the band?
Yes. In yes. I mean,
Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's more like what I'm asking is more. Let's say if something needs to be sacrificed, a friendship needs to be sacrificed for the betterment of the band.
Mm-hmm.
Will you sacrifice this friendship or will you sacrifice the band?
The band.
100%.
100%. Because in 5, 10, 20 years, Nausicaa might not exist.
Yeah.
We might all have moved on into other projects. We might not even be here. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But sacrificing a friendship for, I think that's way more valuable. I think that's something that can last a lifetime, and I think that's definitely always human relations above
Okay.
a band.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what are the, because you got a lot of opportunities I saw, like you released an album,
Yeah,
it's out,
yeah.
and you're going to release another one. Like
I'm smiling because it's been a bit of a crazy year. Like, we released the album in June, but okay, timeline wise, I'll try to give it more or less in chronological order. We worked for 3 years on our first album.
Yeah.
And then we were going to release it in June of this year, 2024. In January 2024, we received this award, Keep an Eye the Records, which basically finances the making of another album. So while we were working on the release of our first album, which was intense work,
Absolutely.
organizing everything, you know the deal. All that amount of work, on top of that, we had to come up
with a new
with another
repertoire.
album.
Yeah.
And it took us 3 years to make the first one, So, and that was the moment actually that we became way more like collaborative.
Yeah.
It wasn't anymore me bringing a tune. Sometimes, yes, of course. But at the same time, someone else would bring a tune, or someone would say, "Hey, I have this riff or this melody. Let's jam on it and see if something happens." So the moment all this work was kind of put on top of us, it's a problem. It's a great problem to have, of course. It's a great opportunity, but everybody stepped in, like, let's make this work, And that's when I realized, like, damn, everybody's very, very involved, and we really want to make this work. So June, we released the first album. In the meantime, we were already kind of trying some ideas, some compositions. And actually today, at the time of making this interview, we are handing in the masters for to send to the press factory. And that's maybe, what is it? Maybe 4 or 5 months later. I don't know, something like that. 6. We did this in half a year.
Yeah.
Less than half a year.
But you knew, like, that when you got it,
Yeah.
then you knew, like, okay, we gotta start working on your repertoire, right?
Yeah.
Or was it like more?
No, we started working on some stuff, but it didn't really crystallize until, well, it actually didn't even crystallize when we went to the studio.
Yeah.
We did a residency, we got the tunes together, they worked, we recorded, and after that there was a production process where the tunes, crystallized, and this is the album that we made. But it was hectic, man.
I have a feeling, it's funny because it's like under immense pressure, diamonds are created in that sense, so it's like, first of all, it's a perfect example of, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together, And I feel that actually when these kind of like moments are coming into lives of entrepreneurs, I'm not saying necessarily musicians, entrepreneurs in general, it's like you were actually faced with setbacks. Let's say, no, you were faced with lack of resources, meaning you didn't have much time.
Mm-hmm.
And because you didn't have much time, you have to be creative within these limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's like, you know what, you have 5 years to make a masterpiece, man, you'll go. I think, I don't know, I never had that, you know, that luxury or that curse actually of like going into these circles of, you know, I'm gonna make it a perfect thing, and then like you nibble and dibble for like a year, and then you have another year and another year and another year. But all of a sudden, when you have little time, you trim the fat.
Yeah.
You trim a lot of the fat. It's like, no, this doesn't work next. This doesn't work next. That's why, also, I mean, it's a reoccurring theme that I've been seeing or hearing from a lot of people. Also, the thing of releasing your music on time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when you have too much time on your music,
Yeah.
then it gets like sticky icky, you know?
A tight deadline is, I think it's always good. I also like to kind of indulge a bit in the whole research, not even research, but just gathering ideas, trying them out.
Yeah.
That's a part of the process that I very much enjoy, which we missed because of the lack of time. But like you said, we did trim a lot of fat. There was a lot of, well, the moment a tune didn't work, it's like, well, yeah, we're not gonna have this in the album. Easy. We don't need to overthink. There's no time for overthinking.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Also, it gives you have to be accepting. Now this past couple months, we were very busy with the production process. So we had 2 producers, Antonio and Jelle, who are in the band or were in the band.
Were in the band?
That's another story. But
I'm curious.
Our guitar player Antonio is decided at some point that he just didn't want to be a performing musician, and so at the beginning of this year he stayed in the band as a producer, and eventually just decided to go his own way.
Sounds very diplomatic.
No, that's in a way that's what it was. There were some tensions, like what we were talking before. Like there were moments of conflict.
I'm not here to put you on the spot. The reason I'm asking is because, you know, there are a lot of podcasts. Everybody's talking to everybody, and like, you know, which kind of mouthpiece do you use, and you know, who gives a shit? But it's like, I mean,
Monet. No, okay.
that's what I mean, you know. But it's more about, there are a lot of people that also, hopefully, you know, would listen to this, and they have just a different perception of what actually it means to have a band, and what does it mean to have a group that you work with. Everybody's sensitive people, you know, everybody wants to be seen and heard. And then when you hear these type of things, you realize it's not all roses and, you know, butterflies. It's like you need to deal with a lot of stuff constantly. And that's because you need to deal with people, you know?
Well, I mean, in this whole process of...
Can you just get the mic a little bit
sorry.
close to you? You have the best arm here, so...
In this whole, I mean, there was a big process as a band, also internal processes of each individual band member, and our guitarist Antonio, he was going through this inner thing of like, I don't want to be a performer, but he's stuck. I don't know if it's okay to kind of tell his life, but you know, you're stuck doing something that you don't want, and even if you're in a band, even if you're with nice people, you still, if you still don't feel good being on stage, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's why he decided to stop performing. Then there were situations that created tension. And I won't get into it, but but it basically, like, the reason for these things was miscommunication, and the reason for things, for conflict was basically things maybe not being said clearly, things not being said directly. I think this is something that is very normal also, kind of in any social group, but and we had to deal with this as well.
Yeah.
We had to deal with, oh, someone's hurt someone else, you know, and you know, I think it's fine as long as you can talk about it.
Yeah. It's very important. Very important.
So, and as long as you take into account, or as long as you understand that there was never a bad an intention to hurt, like all these things happen because of a misunderstanding or a miscommunication, or things like this, you know. I don't think it's 99% of the times, like when conflict comes, it's not because someone intentionally wants to hurt someone.
No.
So we were able to solve this conflict in a very nice way by talking and understanding we don't want to hurt each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a kind of long rant to say, like, well, we of course we went through some moments where we were disagreeing quite strongly and even feeling hurt by the other, and we were able to overcome it.
Yeah. I think it's important because it actually shows care. Like, inadvertently, it shows care.
Yes.
If you're indifferent, then you're in a problem.
Yeah.
If it's really like you're just signing, you're like punching in, I don't give a shit, whatever, man.
Yeah.
Oh, he's hurt. Yeah, I really am done, you know? When it gets to that, even that is more like an aversion, but indifference is really the thing that makes things collapse. It's not anger. I think, it's my opinion and my experience, you know. It's not necessarily anger or being hurt on this, because this can be solved through a conversation. This could be solved actually through communication, which is really important, because wouldn't it be perfect if everybody was just in our head? And we didn't have to actually articulate
Not
what
always.
we say. No, but I mean, in the sense of like, oh, but you know, you should know what I'm thinking. Like, it's these, the lack of expression of expectations actually is what leads to these things a lot of times, you know? Like, if you don't express your expectations properly or your needs, and you expect the other person to know what they are without you expressing it, that's insane. Everybody practices it. Everybody. It's like, yeah, but you should know. No one knows anything. Everybody is like, if it's not communicated straight up, how would they know? They're busy with themselves, you know. I mean, of course, it's not black and white. It's very complex, and also I can imagine this thing of having year 6, right, Nausicaa?
We were 6 originally, now we're 5.
You have like 5 different cultures, 5 different languages, coming from different places, different childhoods, different upbringings, everything different. And then you come into this like pivotal point of just like communicating something that becomes like overgrown, not from the situation itself, from either past traumas or you know, future anxieties and all that stuff. Always important, I think, to communicate. Always, I mean, always just to put it. I don't think necessarily from an emotional place of like, you know, just like letting it rest and being able to talk about it. But this is like the cornerstone of healthy relationships, in my opinion. You know.
Yeah, and it just shows how much everybody cared in the group to say, let's make this work. We don't want to have this tense situation.
Yeah, it's really easy also to stay in that story you have, you know. Oh, he's like this, you know, and that's why, you know. It's because then it's the pride that stands in the way.
I mean, in the end, that also just harms you, harms the one that keeps that feeling in themselves. So it's also kind of pointless.
Yeah,
you're just keeping poison to yourself, and that just becomes rotten,
Yeah,
and it's better to let go and really do your very best to understand the other person,
yeah.
and I think that could solve a lot of conflict.
Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. And what are the plans now for Nausicaa? Like you know, you have already a release date of the new album.
We have a release date that's January 23rd of next year, 2025.
Yeah,
And we have some shows coming up. Thanks to this prize, we received some gigs, some concerts in the
nice.
Netherlands, in
Where
Spain.
do you have already dates?
We're waiting for. We got confirmation from Paradox, like from some very nice venues.
Nice.
There's a chance for Bimhouse, but we're not sure. Bimhouse is a beautiful venue in Amsterdam, for those that don't know. And so yeah, some just very exciting actually. I'm
Nice.
very looking forward to be in the playing mode, in
Yeah.
the touring mode, rather than the oh, we need to get this done mode.
But does it ever actually end? We need to get this done
I would like to believe yes.
because then you need to get the gig done. You need to
Yes,
get the-
but for me the gig is what I do it for.
yeah. Maybe
or-
it's more like what is the thing that needs to get done. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed the whole process most of the time.
Yeah.
I've even enjoyed sitting in front of my laptop with an Excel sheet and like planning stuff and sending emails. Like, but I am just looking forward to like make music, because there can be a point, and this is for those that romanticize the idea of being a musician or being in a band. There's a lot of admin office work that's behind the scenes that's not seen, and it takes up a big percentage of the actual
Absolutely.
music making, of the actual playing a concert.
Yeah.
But I have to say I'm lucky to even enjoy that part.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to go into the playing mode for sure.
Yeah, I want to add on this. You gotta accept that that's an integral part of the business.
And it's fine. I mean,
I know some musicians, that's why I'm saying it. I'm not gonna name it, doesn't matter. But that really don't want to do that, and they don't want to go after it, and it's not gonna work. It's not like, I mean, if you want to get your band out there, and okay, let me start again. There is also this romanticizing thing of I'm going to get an agent, or I'm going to get a this, I'm going to get a that. These things are really changing right now, rapidly. Unless you have a bargaining chip that is very strong, like I have already a tour that is happening. I'm playing in these venues. I'm nominated for this thing, whatever it is. The state of the industry right now is that it's rapidly changing. Because it's rapidly changing, you can actually create your own platform in that sense with what you're doing. Actually, what we're doing right now is we're creating a platform here, you know? Do you agree, Joao? Yes. Joao is behind the scenes, but yeah. But the reason I'm saying is because to embrace the admin, to embrace the networking, to embrace the interpersonal relationships, connections with people, how to talk to people, how to negotiate, how to do this, it will give you eventually more self-determination in deciding where your career is going. You know, this thing of I'm going to have an agent, I'm going to have an assistant, I'm going to have all these things. Like, I'm not saying this could work amazingly for some people. If you are able to actually negate these things, create it for yourself, you will make more money, first of all. You will have, in my opinion, more control of the opportunities that are coming. Like, even if I look at streaming right now, there are albums that in my catalog that are doing very well, and I'm actually making money. But if I had to split it with a label and an agent and a poseriat and this and that, you're like left with Then you have like huge numbers, but you're like, I'm not seeing any of that. That's why like we are in this, we're on the, I don't want to say cusp, it sounds so dramatic. We're on the cusp. You know, it's more like we're in this period right now that individuation is very strong. You know, like you got, with Nausicaa, you got resources to do that, which is great. Like you got it from foundation. It's tax-free. You get it. You are, of course, you need to go and hand in masters, and you need to show, I made this product. However, labels and all that stuff right now, and I'm saying it as someone that is signed on a label, I'm going to record a solo album, because of, I really love what they're doing, and it's amazing what this label is particularly doing. Like, I don't have the facility to do that. For something like you guys are doing, because you're so do-it-yourself and you have this like joint effort, you can be huge without the gatekeepers deciding for you. You know, the first time I heard Nausicaa, I was like, this could be huge. Like, you know, I remember in Spain, I was like, oh, this could be huge, like big, you know. You don't need like people handing you, you know, like cordial opportunities. You know, you can go and get it yourself. It just requires tenacity. It requires it requires thick skin also, man. Thick skin. Like, you know,
and just tenacity, perseverance, and just accepting that it can be a slow process, and you're not always gonna see results.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
That's absolutely okay. Awesome. I went on this tangent. It was nice.
Great tangent.
Now we got to this part of the podcast where I'm asking you about the worst gig you ever had. You can remember that you wake up in the middle of the night, cold sweat, needed PTSD treatment, and pills till this day. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. I have been very lucky to. I think most of my gig experiences have been very good.
You're 25, right?
I'm 25.
Okay, I'm not pulling rank.
Most of my like 2 out of the 3 gigs that I've had in my life have been quite great. There was one gig that I played where I was helping someone that wanted to make music for the wedding of his friend, and he got a bunch of people together, and this was during the summer holiday, so I had time. I was free. So I was just like, yeah, this is a nice chance to hang with some old friends, and we're gonna have a good time together, you know. But the way that the whole thing evolved was just what I thought was going to be a chance to just make fun music. You know, we were playing like medleys of rock songs and some jazz standards here and there, you know, just like chill. And that turned into like, I don't know, maybe like a week of rehearsing.
A week of rehearsing?
At least 5 days, definitely 5 days.
How long each rehearsal?
At least a full morning. Yes.
When you say full morning, like 4, 5, 6 hours,
yeah,
you mean?
Definitely, like 5 hours.
Dude, that's 30 hours, man.
Which, you know, like you are hanging, you're chilling. If the vibe is chill, it's good. It's summer vacation, we go have an ice cream, it's fine. The vibe was not chill.
And then it's like turning into a feeling of 1,000 hours. Yeah.
Man, it wasn't chill. Somehow this person, a person that was leading this whole thing, took this so seriously. He had such an iron grip on the whole process. Again, communication. He also sometimes would say things and the next day they would change.
Okay.
Which is fine, but then the next day he would say, no, I never said this, you know, so...
Like gaslighted, basically.
A bit, you know, there was a certain toxicity in the air. Then there was bad vibes between him and some other band member, discussions. We ended up at times just not like waiting for them to stop arguing until we could continue playing. So just not the gig itself, but the whole
The
process
rehearsal,
leading
yeah.
up to it was setting the tone for what would then become the worst gig that I've ever had, which was this wedding. You are in the south of Spain. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you have to set up the stage and sound check.
Burning, probably.
We were burning. It was 40 degrees. Fine. You know, if the vibe is chill, it's all good. You handle it. The vibe wasn't chill, you know. Anyway,
Like, what was he like stressed and
Yes.
and like not trusting you guys and stuff like this, or what was when you say not chill? It could be it's such a broad thing.
it's a
you
broad thing, but then he was just really stressed. Somehow he was very much in his head about how like he was stuck in his vision of how this has to be, what this has to become.
know? Yeah.
Big picture, we're playing for a wedding of a friend. We're gonna have fun, you know. Like it wasn't like that for him. He was like, we have to make these big arrangements, and it has to lead into like very
Delusion of grandeur.
delusional in a way. He
Yeah.
was very much in his head, which led to just losing a bit of a grip on what the actual situation was.
Right.
Not chill. In a nutshell.
No, God.
Um,
I mean, the compensation. Well, we'll get to it, but yeah.
that's
Well,
the punchline. we get there. We were like sweating, setting up the stage, sound check, whatever. The wedding. It was a wedding, so the food was nice, and most of the company was very nice, I have to say. So, in that regard, it was fine. But then we get to the moment when we play. 5 days of rehearsal, 5 hours every day, like going through like tough rehearsals.
Dude, this is
2
like
hours of music.
Mateus Passion, man.
2 hours of music. We go on stage. There's 3 people there. And a dog. Really, we're like, you're there with this feeling of like, what was the point of all this, you know? If it would have been a chill hang, you know, you're having fun with friends, you're playing music that you don't, then it's fine. There can be literally no people, we jam.
You just have fun.
But
yeah.
because of all this pressure that had been put on this moment, the fact that there were 3 people, it itched.
Yeah.
Throughout 2 hours of playing.
Yeah.
You play with a bad feeling. What was the cherry on top of this was after the concert, we're done. And then we got the payment, just like, I don't know, 100 euros in cash, just like handed in like this in your hand. It's like, go home now, kind of.
Did you take a shower after that?
I'm still showering to this day. So that was just like, yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh man, that's like add insult to
Yes.
injury, man.
Yeah.
But was it the thing of like you would prefer just not to even to get paid?
I wouldn't, man, like by that, like
didn't matter.
there's no amount of money that would have. That there probably is an amount of money that would have.
Well,
made
if it
me
was
feel
1,000,
yeah, exactly.
I'll be like, man, I'll eat your shit. It's okay.
But it just made it feel even
Yeah.
worse, you know. And that was possibly the worst gig experience I've ever had.
Oh my god. Ugh. Yeah, I guess that's also the thing. Know the situation. Know the situation. It's like and I think this is, of course, just from my experience and opinion, is that can only come through doing it more and more. Probably this guy, I don't know, probably just didn't have that much, like many gigs that he would do on that level. And he couldn't understand actually the severity of like, okay, what are we actually doing here? What is the? I don't know. I mean, I'm of course, I'm assuming.
I think that gets close, perhaps.
And did you have any contact with him afterwards? Did you talk to him about it?
Yeah. I mean, he's someone that I know. We've played a couple times after that. But
Did
then
he-
I was aware of what it could become. So I knew. I was aware of what my boundaries are.
What do you mean could become? What could become?
Well, it could become 5 days of rehearsing. With,
okay. You mean like in different projects
Exactly.
with him? Oh, stuff like this. Yeah.
And then I knew what my boundaries were. I knew how much I was willing to stand.
Yeah.
And then it was okay.
So, yeah. And did he acknowledge any of that? Like what happened? What was like? What did you talk about afterwards?
We didn't talk about it.
Oh God, that's a long ride home, man.
Honestly, we didn't share a car. That's so we didn't have to.
That's still a long ride home.
It was still a long ride home. But it was also an experience that was packed with lessons about how to lead a rehearsal, what not to say to someone, how much you can expect from people.
Right.
If you say something, if someone's telling you that you said something the day before, don't go against that. Maybe they're right, and even if they're wrong, there's no point arguing about it.
Yeah.
You're just making the vibe worse. So there were a lot of lessons for sure.
It's interesting, man, when people, they prefer to be right than to be smart in a situation so many times, than to actually be smart of like, does it bring us further to what we need to do? No, I just want to be right, you know?
And that comes from, this comes for a reason, it's there's insecurity, there's what you said before, past trauma, there's a bunch of stuff, so I also don't, it's not like I'm blaming him.
No.
I don't hold a grudge. I just don't want to be in that situation again.
Yeah.
And I know my boundaries now.
Yeah. Did he grow from it?
I hope so.
Interesting. Yeah, it's really, I think the traits of leading a band properly is to understand the needs of the people that you lead. It's very important, not just your needs. I mean, you have your needs, I understand, you want to get things across, but also the reality and the needs of the other people. That's why the communication, like you said in the beginning, very important, I can say, like, with my band leading, like, almost, I feed people almost like just that. I mean, we've done dozens of projects, you know how it is. It's like everything needs to be as clear as possible so you can have the chaos in your environment and then you can feel free in it, Even when we talked about, you said like after the album, like, I felt it was like very like, closed down and stuff like in the music, but later you could understand the vision of what it was. And then in the shows, it's you
can take it places.
Exactly. So that being said, the worst gig where you wake up still in the middle of the night in cold sweat and
man, it's been a ride. It's been a tough 7 years living with this, man.
Exactly. That's why you have outkering, right? That's why you get like money from the government to be.
Well, I have to say,
I had a bad gig.
If as musicians or artists, if this is the worst that can happen to you, that you have an experience like this that you can learn from, I think we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, of course.
I think we're
absolutely. I mean, you're not working in a building like a scaffold fell on your face.
Yeah, like our physical intake. Of course, there's. No, of course it can lead to bad situations also mentally, but yeah, I consider us to be quite lucky people.
It's if you really think about it, it's a very small percentage of actual society functioning, and that's why this podcast is important, because it's just to see the person behind, the instrument, because it's a lot of people, or the instrument, the concept, the theater piece, the treatment, anything, just to talk to people, So that being said, what is the best experience you had?
Yeah, this one is actually very difficult to answer, I have to say. Like I said before, I have been very lucky to play with a lot of great people, to travel to places. Last weekend I was in Egypt. I had a blast. So it gigs. Usually it's been in a time when I got to travel, a time where I got to see a new place and feel the energy of the people from that place. So, for example, this weekend in Egypt, but also last year when we also played in Morocco,
Right.
with Marmoucha Orchestra, and I
Yeah,
remember
tell about this experience. Yeah. Tell about this experience.
it was already weeks before you're anticipating this moment of being in a new country, and damn, like getting to play music there. How mind-boggling is this?
Yeah.
And so already weeks before leading up to it, I was looking forward to it, and then you're in the plane, and it's like everything's magic, And then we got to the stage, and already from the soundcheck, I was like it felt like everybody was so present, and we were playing this project that was Gnawa Fusion, right? So, and we were playing with actual musicians from there.
You're talking about Visa for Music?
Visa for Music.
So that was 2 years ago. Sorry,
it was 2 years ago. Wow. It feels like it could have happened yesterday. It feels so close still. And like playing with musicians that are so in touch with this music since they are born. Feeling that energy, like already in the soundtrack I was almost in tears. And then the moment we got to the actual moment of playing after a bunch of hours of waiting.
I will add to that, yeah.
Like going on stage and like feeling like you're floating, like, man, what's happening right now? And there were a lot of people in the audience that were like so enthusiastic and giving a lot of energy, and we gave that energy back,
No, the vibe was fire, man. The vibe was insane, yeah.
Oh, man, what a night.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's it's like it's in one of these moments that, because I was leading back then, I was leading the orchestra, and talking about band leading in that sense, the ability to just deal with setbacks, deal with limitations, deal with problems, is it shows your leadership in that sense. Because it was just one issue after the other. First issue was like, we're very organized. We sent like, this is the writer, this is a schedule. We coordinated it with the organization. This soundcheck at 12. We get there at 11:30. Everybody's already like, like soldiers, ready. Soundcheck is gonna be at 2:30. All right, All right, okay. And then I'm like, listen, we need for the music sheet, we need stands for them, because we're playing with an orchestra. It's people. No one is gonna play it from their head, by heart. Yeah. Oh yes, of course I'm gonna get it for you. 3 hours later, where are the music stands? Oh, I'm gonna get it for you. 1 hour before the gig, which we were scheduled to play at 8:45, and we got on stage at 12:00. And Joao is cracking. And so all these things happen, and then we couldn't find the musicians, and we couldn't find this and that, and it's like it's all like bottlenecking to that point of getting on stage, and then you can just be like we got the music stands literally 10 minutes before going up on stage, literally. And they went to a different city to get it. I didn't understand even why. You're in Rabat. There are like 20 plus million people. I'm sure you can get like 5 music stands. Anyway, it was hilarious,
Yeah.
And then finally when we get to it, then the vibe was so intense. And Hamid El-Kasri was there.
Also.
And like we all played, and it was a whole festival, It was a great experience, amazing. And Mehdi, of course, with his vibe and what he brings, and like this positivity and like ample energy, So it was awesome.
It was really magic in the air.
Yeah, And people were like singing with him, like just going crazy. It was awesome. What would be the advice that you would give yourself, Antonio, that just arrived to Amsterdam? You know, because you've been here for 8 years or 9 years? 8 years. So what would be the advice that you would give yourself, Antonio, that just got here, with all the experience that you have, all the stuff that you did already, all the wins and the losses and all that stuff?
So 18-year-old Antonio. It's
17,
not so.
no?
It's not so long. 17, 18. Yeah. I would say, relax. Like, you are here. You have a good attitude. You're working hard. You're trying to learn from everything. You're not in a hurry. I think I perhaps had an attitude of trying to get a lot done very fast, which, eventually it was beneficial, of course. It got me to play with amazing people. It got me to improve on my instrument fast. But it also got me to certain periods where I felt very disconnected from music. I maybe felt lonely and actually disconnected from the people that were surrounding me. And so I would tell myself, relax and prioritize friendships and family.
Prioritize actually the interpersonal connections you have with people.
Exactly.
Was it wanting to get a lot of things done quickly, or was it impatience?
Wanting to get somewhere fast.
So was it impatience, or was it...
I think it was youthful enthusiasm.
Impatience, yeah.
There's my diplomatic...
diplomatic way of saying... of doing this, yeah. No, I understand you, man. It's,
you're hungry, you're in a new country, you are coming from a place that doesn't offer that much opportunity, and suddenly you're overwhelmed by it. It's amazing. It's great. I mean, I would recommend this experience to anyone that can that is lucky enough to
absolutely.
But at the same time, all that input, all these opportunities, it's like there's a time for everything, and you don't need to do everything at the same time.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think also that's a thing to remember. The FOMO that we're experiencing on a regular basis, the fear of missing out, this like, I have to grab it, I have to do it, after this.
Yeah.
These things are going to be there. Like, nothing is, it's just a delusion of, I'm going to miss this up. I got to strike while the iron is hot.
Yeah.
There are a lot of irons out there that are very hot and waiting for you to strike them. So it's like, it really takes time, you know? What would be the advice that you would give students that are just graduating now from the conservatory, considering the climate of the music business right now, everything that is changing, your experiences that you have?
A bit the same advice, perhaps, of sure, keep working, keep learning, keep going for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, take regular moments to step back and look around and look inside, and don't just don't stick to the ideas that are don't stick only to the ideas that are in your head of what you should become.
That's a big thing. Yeah?
You can become many things. You might be closing yourself from opportunities if you stick only to the things that you think you should be, right? So regularly step back and breathe and look around at what's happening in my life. And just be nice to other people, be kind.
Yeah.
And again, cherish and prioritize the interpersonal connections, because at the end of the day, we are working with people, and doesn't matter if you don't release as many albums as you wanted by the time you are a certain age. Does it really matter if you don't have real good friendships? Does it really matter if you're not connected with the people that you're playing with? So I would say take your time and enjoy the process as much as you can.
Awesome. Man.
I said a lot of things. I mean, there was a lot of advice there, but
Dude, it's a podcast, man. It's like, the reason that this format works is because at some point the person we would like to project to the outside is kind of like going into the background, and then you see the person that you have in front of you. And that's why I love this so much. And that's why this format, I'm not talking about this particular podcast, I'm talking about podcasting in general, has this power of really authenticity and seeing the person. I wanted to add one more thing about age, which is really important. I think that a lot of young musicians or students, they're falling into that trap. I need to achieve certain things in a specific age. I need to this. You are exactly where you are right now with what you have. I'll give you a small example. Like, it's the first time we're going to play together, the 9th of January in the BIM house. It's the first time that it's like under my name. And I was like really excited in this. And then I saw like what they wrote in the description there, because I sent them a bunch of stuff and then they make like a thing from it. And then they wrote like, rising star pianist brings like blah blah, and I was like, I'm going to be 38 next month, am I rising? And I was telling Madelon, I was telling her like, I'm old.
Man,
I mean,
but rising star sounds better than dying star.
washed out musician trying last time to grab into his career. But what I mean with that is that it's like, I looked at it in the description, I was laughing, and I was just saying like, when I was 25, for instance, I would hear it, I would be like, yes, I'm a rising star, but now it's more like, oh, cool, okay, this they see it like this, and this is it's a huge compliment, of course, but it's also like, if at 40 I hit the mark of where I want to be, actually, to be honest, I hear from a lot of people my age that it's like, now I start actually seeing the career the way they want. That's why I gave that joke about you being 25. It doesn't mean that you didn't experience stuff. It's just that there are like years and years of realizing like, oh, actually I don't want this, or like, oh, this is actually how I want to design, let's say, the career that I want,
And that's why I am being careful to just not to take my time. I'm 25. I've just came out of studying for all my life. Like I don't know what I don't know, so I want to just take my time and go slowly and look around and see what is there actually that I can do. And perhaps it is exactly the same path that I'm following. Great. Perhaps it's other things.
Yeah, man, who knows, man. Man, it's amazing. That's why also, like, we can plan a bunch of stuff, but also the flexibility and resilience that we have is what actually is going to go hand in hand with accepting what is happening around us. Man, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'll say it now, and I will really mean it. Thank you so much for having me.
I mean, I know. No. It's been great, man. Thank you so much. Is there something you want to plug? Is there something you want to... This is going to be out in 6 weeks.
Well,
6 weeks, yeah.
We have this concert in BIM House. It would be
Right.
great if
9th of January,
people
yes.
come and see us not just talking with words, but talking with music.
Yeah, I will be telling so many horrible, terrible jokes. It will bomb. No one will laugh. Everybody will just sit there like, oh my God.
The highest amount of walkouts from a concert.
Exactly. Fighting on stage, bad music, bad.
So come, please. You don't want to miss it.
Exactly. Man, again, brother, you're the... That was the most awkward.
What a way to end the...
Guys, Follow the podcast. We have like different accounts. Into the Score. Follow us also on YouTube, Spotify. Into the Score. All of that. We would love to see you in all of the gigs that we have. You actually need to look at that camera. You can cut the camera. And that's exactly. It's Antonio's doing it now because he has like the best arm. If I do this, we'll have like a sinkhole in the floor, but the whole thing will just collapse. So that's why I'm like also sitting like this. No, seriously, on a serious note. So thank you so much for joining us. We are going to see you at the gig. Please follow Antonio also. He's an incredible trumpet player, composer, band leader, very annoying sometimes, but also...
That's all of them are right.
All of them are right. And we're going to see you at the gig. So thank you.